All right, so welcome to Crypto Talk. This is episode 1, and going to be talking about two stories today. Both of them I found pretty interesting, and did some research on them. Got a couple sightings, and just going to talk about it and talk about my point of view and stuff. So anyway, welcome, and we're just going to hop right into it. I'm going to try to do these at least one a week, or maybe even two, but I'm going to try to make them around 25 minutes or so. But, alright, so the first one we got is Wendigo in Wisconsin, or the Wendigos in Wisconsin. And I was doing some research about some sightings and stuff, and this one was, I guess, the one with most evidence, I guess you could say, in Manitowoc County in Wisconsin. And the gentleman is referred to as David W., and that's about it, and his wife. And they said they had recently moved into the county, and they weren't familiar with the area. But David was an avid hunter. So David and his wife were walking a bow hunting trail in Nibissing Swamp, I guess that's how you pronounce it, and they felt like they were being watched. And so he did some research and found some trails and hunting and stuff, because they weren't really familiar. They had moved prior to this incident. They had moved there 2 months ago, and they had reached a fork in the trail, and David reported, he said he saw something off the trail. And he said, obviously, that he was hunting a deer, and he thought it was a buck, so he tried following it. And what he saw was, crouched behind a tree, was a creature. He described it to be tall, skinny, and almost as if the bones of it were trying to come out of its skin. He said it looked like it had gray skin or gray hair. David described the creature to be almost 8 to 10 feet tall. He described the arms so long that they almost could touch the ground with it standing up. So that's pretty crazy. That's just the description of the creature, which, if you've seen pictures and stuff of the Wendigo, which is pretty spot on. I mean, I've played the video game Until Dawn. They did a wonderful job, recreating their version of the Wendigo. And Supernatural, if you've seen that television show, they made it a similar description to this, which is pretty cool. But yeah, and so then David thought the creature was a hunter in some sort of ghillie suit. So he called out and said hello, but as he expected, no reply. Then the creature looked up and took 3 large steps and disappeared into the brush, in which David felt really uneasy about. And then David and his wife walked over to where the creature was standing, and they saw a humongous impression in the soft ground, which, a creature to leave that kind of impression in the ground, they'd have to be pretty big. Like, I'm not sure if they've, in all the research I've done on the Wendigo, no one's reported on how much it weighs or anything like that. But it's reported as having, long and skinny, but somehow so strong. So I guess the density of the muscles, like super long muscles, make it super heavy. But anyway, so the city's huge person. Then they decided to leave the spot that they were at to continue on the trail. They were feeling really uneasy about that. They were just trying to make their way back to their car as fast as they could, I guess. And then they reached a clearing in the woods into a little field, about a quarter mile from the road where their car was. So they were on the way. and they spotted a buck in the middle of the field. And David said that he might as well go ahead and take the shot. So he drew his bow back and took the shot. And he said he knew the shot felt really low, and he wasn't sure if he hit the deer. So they, pursued, and they didn't see the deer run off or anything. So that was a promising sign that he hit it. So then he said he got from about 40 yards from where the deer was laying on the ground, and he started approaching the buck. And, he made a clean shot. It went down, which is pretty spectacular with the bow, because I know deer like to run and stuff when they get hit with a bow. But he said he started approaching the buck, and he heard this loud rustling from the forest right behind the buck. And he said a whitish gray creature, like the one he saw earlier, was heading straight for the injured animal. And in one swift moment, the creature grabbed the animal and disappeared back into the woods. So that sounds pretty intense. And all watching it from a distance, which had to be super uneasy. But I guess, to me, that would seem like the Wendigo or this creature was stalking them, waiting for him to make his move. And then I guess he saw an opportunity, a wounded animal, so the creature really pounced on that. David and his wife, they said they immediately rushed straight to the car, and they reported it to the sheriff's office, but they went out there and couldn't really find anything. Which, like I said, the muscle that this creature must have has to be intense, crazy intense, for it to, just pick up a buck and just carry it straight through the woods, through thick brush and everything. It's got to be insane. But yeah, so that's the Wendigo in Wisconsin. That's the only sighting that I really found interesting. There's more, and a little bit of the backstory on the Wendigo is, like I said, it's described to be this huge, skinny animal who is in the more northern regions of the North America, like Canada, Wisconsin, Washington. And they said it was it's originally first spoken in Native American culture. And the story goes that it was a hunter who got super selfish, and he was hunting with someone, and they got lost, and they couldn't find their way for a couple days, and then he got so hungry, he killed his friend, and essentially resorted to cannibalism. And then, for some reason, turned into this monster we know as today as the Wendigo, which sounds pretty crazy, but my personal thought is, obviously I want to believe it's real and everything like that, but at my point of view is it was just a way of Native American Indians to tell the children and young adults that if you indulge in a crazy act such as cannibalism or selfishness, because eating someone else is pretty selfish, or gluttony or something like that bad things will come. So that's personally what I think. But obviously it'd be, crazy if this huge monster was just trampling through the woods and stuff. But in this instance, it went after a deer, but many have reported, even in the Native American folklore, that it's a cannibal and it goes after human flesh only. But maybe it is some crazy looking animal. Animal or monster or something that's real, and just Native Americans were the first ones to see it, and it's telling bedtime stories and stuff to their children about it, which would be pretty crazy. But yeah. So then we're gonna move on to the next story here. I didn't have as much time to prepare this one, but this is about the Dog Man of Kentucky, which I'm sure some of you all have heard about it or something like that. Near Louisville, Kentucky, and Kentucky's been known for having vast sightings of dogmen, weird canines, werewolf type creatures, which personally to me is one of my biggest fascinations is werewolves. I don't know, it's just something that I don't know about a wolf person, because wolves are so intense. It being human size or even bigger, standing on 2 feet, it's just crazy to think about. But so this one says it was a news article about a boy who was brutally mauled and killed, and every time they describe what it was killed by, they say a canine creature. They don't ever say wolf, rabid dog or anything like that. And I'm looking at a picture here, which I'm not sure is if it's the came from the area or whatever, but it just looks like I don't know, some sort of wolf creature standing up, walking through the woods, which looks pretty unsettling. But yeah. So every time they describe what the boy was killed by, they kept saying canine creature, which is weird because, number one, there's coyotes, and I'll explain why it probably wasn't a coyote later on. There hasn't been wolves in Kentucky for hundreds of years. Rabid dogs, again, within the same category as the coyotes. I'll explain that in just a minute. But it says in January of 2019, there was a disturbing sounding call in a section of a park across from the boys' school, and there was an attack on a herd of llamas in a Louisville farm/zoo. I guess it was like a petting zoo, and the llamas were killed and eaten, and then a week later 2 donkeys were killed about 5 miles away, and then some sheep were found either dead or missing in a farm outside the city. And then, so it says recently it's been discovered that there was a speculation that a group of dogs could have killed the llamas. However, upon further investigation, it's found out that it can be ruled out due to the territorial nature of the llamas, as well as mention of the bite marks around the ears and flanks. So the dogs on those llamas and stuff is pretty. I would feel like a llama would be able to defend the pack, and plus, it's not like dogs are super clever on getting in a fenced area just to eat some llamas, because llamas are way bigger than dogs. That's my personal opinion. But they kept getting reports around this area, and then eventually it says boy 13 is killed by a suspected canine attack in Kentucky mountainside near a relative's home. So there's this article, and it keeps saying, like I said, a canine creature. It says the 13-year-old boy was killed this past Tuesday in Knott County, Kentucky. And the stories and everything, it says he was staying at a relative's house, familiar with the area, so he's been there a couple times. He was playing in the backyard, and the relative called 911 at 6 p.m. saying the boy was being attacked by a canine-type creature. So the relative who called couldn't even identify it. That's, obviously if she'd had to been close enough to tell if it was a coyote, dog, or something like that, but the way she says creature, it just contradicts itself into saying, obviously, she doesn't know what it is. She can't easily identify it, which is crazy. But and so the first responders on site at 6:30. So it took them 30 minutes to get there, because the terrain is just out of this world on the mountainous Kentucky sides. Direct them up the mountain. So they had difficulty getting past the mountainside because of steep, slick terrain, but found the dead boy 300 to 400 feet straight up the rain-slick mountain. So this is where the indication of coyote and dogs come in, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because there would be no way a dog, or probably a group of dogs, could carry a boy. I think he was like 100 pounds of dead weight up a 300 to 4 foot straight up on a rain slick mountain. There's no way that would come, like, they could possibly do that. Neither could a coyote. Even if it was a coyote pack, they probably would have just eaten the boy right there. They wouldn't have drug him off into somewhere else. Same thing with like a dog. They would have probably just eaten him in that one instance, like in one spot. The state trooper reported, something is out there. He kept saying something is out there. And the coroner confirmed the boy was killed by a canine type creature, but couldn't identify exactly what it was. So there's no wolves, they've gone through the process of elimination. There's no wolves in Kentucky. A feral dog or several feral dogs aren't dragging 100 pounds of dead weight up a mountainside. Not a bear, the coroner has determined, cause of death to be a canine type creature. And they had a funeral for him, and they set up a GoFundMe page and everything. And they say a bear or a mountain lion are the only two animals that they know of that could have killed a human and have the strength to drag him 100 yards up a rain-slick mountainside. But it wasn't a canine, it wasn't a bear or a mountain lion, the coroner said, because it was a canine-type creature by the bite marks. Authorities are asking neighbors to be hyper-vigilant of the surroundings. And there was no official ID of the animal or the creature that killed him. So, would be, if I was the family, that'd be super unsettling to me that they can't confirm what it was. And it doesn't, describe here anything more about what the lady saw. But as she said, it was the canine type creature, which is still pretty crazy. I just don't, it doesn't make sense. It has to be the dog man. There's been multiple reportings of it. And, in and out around the area of Kentucky and Louisville and all of that stuff. It's just bizarre to me. And like I said, like dog man, wolf, the werewolves, and that's one of the biggest fascinations of mine because it's so distinct. It's not like when you talk about Bigfoot, it's like, it's an ape, whatever. Or like, a werewolf is a wolf that stands up. That's just so bizarre. And the shape of the face and everything, and how vicious wolves are. Apes can stand up. They've you've seen apes and stuff stand up. It's just something about a wolf standing up that just like gives me the chills. And I believe it. I believe that Kentucky has got some pretty dense forest area, like forest/mountain area that only could be traversable by some inhuman creature that has got, pure strength to hike it up a mountain or, go straight through like strong brush and everything. It's crazy. But, yeah, so that looks like it'll be concluding our episode 1. I'm super excited to get this up and running. Like I said, I'll try to do one per week. I know this one was pretty crazy. I don't know. I'm gonna try to go in more detail in the future ones. Like I said, I kind of threw these together on short notice, but definitely gonna be working hard on this. And like I said, if you want me to talk about a story or anything, or sightings, or you have any thoughts or anything, just comment, send me an email, something like that. But all right.